I want to tell you about one of my favorite quotes of all time. It comes from this national park ranger at Yosemite National Park. They were interviewing him on TV because bears were getting into the trash cans. And they were talking about bear-proof trash cans and what they could do to stop the bears from getting in. And he said, it turns out that there's a considerable overlap between the smartest bears and the dumbest humans. So if we make a bear-proof trash can, we make a human-proof trash can, and then everybody just leaves the food out and the bears come and eat it. So it wasn't possible for them to create a bear-proof trash can. I think where we sit today in 2025, when we think about AI and humans, there is a considerable overlap between the skills that AI can do, the knowledge of AI, the productivity of AI at its highest, and the least productive, least knowledgeable, worst employee on your team. Is that fair to say? Okay, so whenever I do a technology talk like this, I have to do some audience calibration so that I can find out like how big of a nerd we are in the room here. So if we just took AI in general of where you sit today in this room, who would say they're like 7, 8, 9, 10, somewhere in the upper third? 7, 8, 9, 10's where my nerds at? Oh, only a couple. All right, good. How about middle range? 4, 5, 6ers? 4, 5, 6ers? All right, quite a few. That's about 50%. And the 1, 2, 3s thought AI was artificial insemination down here in the middle of southern Missouri. Okay. All right, that's okay. We're gonna start. We're gonna keep it easy. Then we're gonna speed up. Luckily, we have breakout sessions, and you have that awesome training program that you can do where if you really want to dive into it and learn more, you can. But I'm gonna keep it pretty high level. Talk about some of the business strategies that you can use to increase your performance. First, I'm going to do a lot of hype about AI, and we've already been hearing it today. I want to talk to you about some of the problems with artificial intelligence. And fair warning, this is where you start to participate. You can shout anything out, interrupt me. We're going to do some Q&A at the end too. We didn't share this in my background, but I started as a DJ in bars and clubs. And so in my 20s, I was Romeo on Mix 93.3 in Kansas City, and I performed in front of hundreds and thousands of drunk people. So you're not gonna throw me off my game today. I only have one rule. If you do throw anything, I prefer $100 bills. Other than that, you can shout anything out, participate. So what would you guess? Top 3, what are the problems with artificial intelligence where we sit today? What do you got? Bad data, good. Working from bad assumptions, messy data. What, biases? Biases is up here. What else we got? Energy use and computing power is a huge one for sure. The highest levels of AI now with OpenAI and ChatGPT, it costs over $100,000 a question for them to type it in the highest levels. That's expensive. That is a lot of computing power for sure. What else? When thinking about your business productivity, what's a problem with AI? Lack of skill, good. And security and buy-in, great. All those are awesome. Here's a couple that I came up with. AI, when you're asking it to do something, it doesn't know what it's like to be a human. So it's missing a lot of context about you and what you're trying to solve and your business and your industry. It's trained on all the world's information on the internet, but it doesn't know you, what you're trying to do, where you're trying to go with it, and what it's like to be a real human in the real world. So you see that with a lot of AI videos right now. Things will break the laws of physics because it doesn't understand three-dimensional space and physics. So they're working on training it for that. Number 2 for me, I think, is a lack of creativity. There's something valuable about humans is that we know when to break the rules, and computers are not good at that. So when you're thinking about AI, I think a lot about predictability and probabilities, and that can create the last one, which we heard is ethical concerns, biases, hallucinations, all that kind of stuff comes from probabilities, that if 80% of the time this outcome should happen, that's great. You can plan for a lot of stuff that way, but what happens with the 20% of the time? It's going to give you a wrong answer, or it's going to offend a customer instead of help them in the way that we want. Humans are better at understanding that context and being creative and saying, a salesperson on a call today goes, you know what? 99 out of 100 times I would give a pitch right now, but today is not the day. Today is the 100th day where I need to do something different. And so humans can understand that context. So when you're thinking about how to use AI in your business, I love the Terminator versus Iron Man analogy. Again, I didn't give a lot of my nerd credentials, but this will prove it for you. In the Terminator, he is an autonomous robot. Autonomous AI works by itself. It's all artificial. You give him a task, he's gonna go accomplish that mission according to his programming and keep going until that mission is accomplished no matter what. Iron Man is a human, Tony Stark, that wraps himself in technology and has Jarvis AI in his ear, giving him prompts and information that he didn't know and helping him make decisions, giving him the superpowers, but allowing him to be an autonomous human and amplify his own abilities. That to me sounds like a much better way of using AI than trying to build robots to replace ourselves. Anybody else with me on that? All right, so let's talk about how we do it a little bit. But first, we're gonna do another audience calibration test. Oops. When I'm gonna give you some instructions on the screen here. I've done this to hundreds of audiences all around the country, and we're gonna see exactly where you guys are compared to other those audiences. I'm gonna give you some instructions. All you have to do is follow along. When I feel like you've accomplished the task, I'll stop the clock. All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1. All right, off to a slow start, but we got it. Okay, good, you can stop. All right, that was not bad. I would say that's about average. 3 or 4 seconds is the average. I did this in front of some high schoolers in Kansas City. They didn't start clapping for the first 4 seconds, so we're above them, all right? We got that going for us. That is the world's fastest example of predictive analytics. What you have to do to accomplish that task is listen to the audience, listen to what else is happening, and then predict the beat for the next clap and to get in sync with what was going on. So when we think about predictive analytics in our businesses, I think of a few different ways that we can use this. Predicting customer behavior, analyzing trends in those mass areas, like thinking about what 80% items we can fix and predict what is gonna happen so we can plan ahead for those things. And then optimizing sales and marketing campaigns, making sure we're getting the best ROI and looking at what global trends are happening that might affect what we're trying to do. All of these are great. Has anybody heard the Target story? This was from quite a few years back now. Target found out that a 16-year-old girl was pregnant before her father did. They were sending pregnancy ads to the 16-year-old girl, and the dad was not very happy about that. Went into Target, cursed him out, went back home and found out his daughter was pregnant, and Target knew before he did. It turns out it's not very hard. You know, we all have those loyalty cards and we're using the same credit cards. If you purchase a pregnancy test and then a few weeks later purchase prenatal vitamins or cocoa butter, we're gonna assume that was a positive test. And then we know from there we can predict a lot of things after that. So if you're keeping track of all of this information on this consumer, if they start buying blue and green boy clothes and Legos for Christmas gifts that year and all the things, okay, we're gonna say that baby was probably a boy, right? And we know about when it was born and there's gift registries and everything else, we're learning more information. 10 years later, Target can send you an ad that's the hottest gift for 10-year-old boys that year, and you don't know the information that they had. You don't know that they were predicting those actions. So when everybody hears about their phones listening to them and then Facebook pops up an ad about something you just mentioned, it turns out they don't have to listen to you. They have enough data to predict what you're going to buy based on what your friends are buying, what everybody else is looking at. So even if you don't have a cell phone, we have over 50,000 data points on you based on what everybody else around you does on their phone. So if everybody else in your demographic, your age group, your friend group, everybody watching the same TV show as you is buying this product, there's a good chance that we want to serve you ads for that as well. So you can use all of these things for good or evil. We've heard earlier today with cybersecurity, some of the things that maybe you don't want to do with AI. I'm going to share with you some of these creative ideas that we could use for better sales and marketing. So what we did at Sandler, they were our lunch sponsor today. I worked at Sandler for 15 years in the corporate office nationally. We sold big accounts. I got to train companies like Uber and Thermo Fisher Scientific, and we were selling big enterprise deals. So we could afford to spend a lot on technology as well as people and manpower and spend a lot of effort trying to attract one of these deals because it could be a $1 million deal for somebody like HubSpot or something like that. So what we were looking at was this behind the scenes data of buyer intent with 6sense and what they were searching for at this company. So I anonymized it here. It's ABC Inc. They started doing in this time frame at the campaign start within the last 90 days, 314 searches for customer success type training in the month. And we saw a sudden spike here. I don't know if you guys can see it. It's kind of light on the graph in the upper right there. But we assigned this account to Jackson, and we also saw in a tool called Bombora Surge that they're looking for technical and tactical sales, customer success performance, and sales force effectiveness. Those are all things that we're selling. If your customer typed into a search engine 314 times in 90 days about the product that you sell, do you want to talk to that person? Probably a good idea for him to pick up the phone. Now, some of those tools are expensive. You can talk to JMark about any of those. 6sense and Bombora are the enterprise tools. You can use HubSpot, Google Analytics. You can set up free social media alerts. If you're a local plumbing company, do you want to know when somebody posts on Facebook that their basement flooded? Or their toilet keeps clogging? Or their sewer system's backing up? Yeah, why don't we look at what they're already sharing publicly for information, and then we can contact those people exactly when they have the problem. One of my favorite analogies for predictive analytics is real estate people. So it's really easy to think about real estate. If you're in real estate, you want to know when somebody's buying or selling a home, right? How do you usually know that somebody's buying or selling their home? Anybody got an idea? Ask for what? The photo, yeah, which would be way too late. They got their keys and they're out in front of their house. Usually it's because they have a sign in their yard, right? But the problem is a real estate person put the sign in the yard, so they're already working with somebody at that point. So if we're in real estate, we need to start thinking about leading indicators. What happens before people buy from us? Are people getting divorced, getting married, having a kid, downsizing, got a big promotion, changing roles for a job? If we start monitoring those things online with AI, and then we send alerts to our sales team when somebody hits these lead scoring metrics, now we can talk only to the absolute correct people, which I think is awesome and way more fun.